employees are leaving the retail sector in alarming rates. Employee turnover has been a problem in the retail sector for decades. How do we fix this? Hi, my name is Jonathan Klett, and I have studied employee turnover rates in the retail sector for 2 months using primary and secondary sources. And through my research, I have found that retail companies experience direct and indirect costs of turnover because of poor social environments, unqualified management, uncompetitive wages, and lack of career development. Therefore, retail companies should increase benefits, build community, and improve management practices. First, let's look at the indirect and direct costs of the retail industry. The retail and wholesale trade industry has a 22% turnover rate, with an overall industry average of a 15% turnover rate, so 7% higher than the average industry turnover rate. With employee turnover rate, there are direct costs and indirect costs. First, the direct costs. Obviously, there's a lot of training that goes into starting an employee out in a new job. So, human resources coordinators, managers, and other employees will put forth hours of training just to get the employee to where he needs to be. So when an employee leaves, that training goes to waste. More significantly, there's financial waste in employee turnover. The total cost of hiring a new employee ranges from 90% to 200% of the employee's annual salary. This is very expensive, and it only gets more expensive the higher the level of management. Many of the training fees come from finding and interviewing candidates, and of course, training them for a position, sometimes for multiple months or even years. So, how do these costs come about? Well, to do this, to analyze the cost, we need to see what causes this turnover. First, compensation. On average, retail associates earn $12 an hour compared to production and assemblers $16 an hour. Now, if there are positions open in production, then retail associates will naturally leave to production companies to earn that higher pay grade. This is one of the biggest problems with employee turnover rate. Employees don't feel compensated enough, both hourly and with benefits. Secondly, management. Management can make the difference between whether an employee will stay in a company and whether they will leave a company. Employees are very influenced by their manager, and a poor manager obviously will encourage employees to move on and find a new position. Changes in management also affects employee turnover. The more change that an employee witnesses in the environment, the more likely they will be to leave. Thirdly, the social environment. Organizations tend to attract employees who display similarities to their existing workforce. So, typically, companies with with an overall race or creed that dominates the company will attract employees of that race or creed. So an employee that may be different in that way may feel uncomfortable and unwelcome and will be more inclined to leave. There are also many cultural dimensions that can affect whether an employee will want to stay at an organization, depending on the way that the organization is structured. These can be things like individualism, egalitarianism, and hierarchy, performance orientation, future orientation, assertiveness, humane orientation, uncertainty avoidance, and gender egalitarianism. All of these add for companies to create an effective social environment, and an employee who may not feel comfortable in an environment that doesn't withhold one of these values may be more inclined to leave. There are also generational differences that affect whether an employee will stay or not. Say an employer who is dominantly baby boomers and hires somebody that is a millennial, there may be dissension in that, and the millennial may want to leave or the baby boomer may want to leave. Finally, there's career development. Now, many retail associates say that staying in their current position would not lead them to a long-term career, and therefore they seek positions elsewhere. So, with all these problems, what can employers do to combat these high turnover rates? First, and most importantly, employers need to increase benefits. Now, this doesn't simply mean increase your hourly pay. That may have something to do with it, but retirement plans and extra benefits, fringe benefits, make a difference in whether an employee will stay or not. A study found that 49% of employees who already had a retirement plan through a small business said that they wouldn't move to a company that didn't offer a comparable plan. So to retain these employees, offering them a plan and offering them benefits that are superior to competitors and to other industries will be more likely to retain their employees. Offering a retirement plan or program or paying or matching a retirement plan is less expensive than constantly hiring and training new employees just to have them leave again. Now, wages also do play an important part in retaining an employee. Costco exemplifies this. 70% of their budget is labor costs. But Mr. Sinegal, founder of Costco, finds that it is very important to properly compensate employees. There's always a temptation to cut labor costs, he says, but that's fool's gold. In addition to increasing benefits for employees, employers need to work to build community within their company. This is especially important with minorities. Now, minorities make up a significant of retail associates. It is very important for minority members to feel socially included. In an environment that is not all-inclusive and doesn't respect other cultures, people of different ethnicities will feel more inclined to leave that company. This is why employee training for diversity and cultural appropriation is very critical. Employees need to understand other cultures and be aware of the cultures so that they can be all-inclusive. In addition to focusing on minority members, employers need to assess the company culture, and they need to encourage employees to share something about themselves. This will help build relationships, and with relationships, employees are more likely to be involved in their company and will want to be more productive in the company. To assess personality, you may want to use a Myers-Briggs test, for instance. This will help employers get to know their employees and just to build a greater culture. Finally, improve management. This is especially important in production or in retail because managers need to work side by side with their employees in order to build those relationships. Menards uses this tactic to help retain their employees. They pair their frontline managers with their associates so that they can not only get to know the job better, but get to work with people who know what they are doing. Another important aspect of management is to do advanced training, to have the managers train the employees personally. This will help build trust among the manager and the employee, and trust is critical in keeping the employee at the company. Good organizational performance and managerial effectiveness leads to building trust. If an employer wants to keep their employees, There needs to be mutual trust so that the employee knows that the company will stand up for their safety and for what's good for them. So overall, we see that there are many problems in the retail industry, but there are ways to improve. Retail companies experience direct and indirect costs of turnover because of poor social environments, unqualified management, uncompetitive wages, and lack of career development. Therefore, retail companies should increase benefits, build community, and improve managerial practices. Taking these recommendations into consideration will help retail companies retain their employees. Thank you for your time.